Hey everyone, welcome to Footy Banter and Insights. We'll do a quick roundup of the weekend games, and we'll start with the first game that was City versus Newcastle. What do you guys think? City dropping 2 points.
Yeah, like good news for Arsenal fans, right?
Good news
Good
for
news for
Arsenal and
everyone.
Liverpool fans, right? Liverpool are
Yeah,
top of the table, so Liverpool fans would be really, really happy. But I think City started great, scored an early goal as well. And then I think the second half was all about Newcastle and how they were they pulled back in the game, right? So Gordon scored a penalty, which was um, it can go either way, right? At
Hmm.
that point, because some of the people, if I'm correct, like they were saying that he kind of tripped on purpose.
Hmm.
But I think these are the decisions that can go either ways.
Hmm.
In fact, right after that penalty, Newcastle could have easily gotten the second penalty for a
correct.
foul that Walker did,
Yes,
and that's where I think Man City got lucky again
yeah.
yesterday.
They hit
And
the bar also.
yes, they hit the bar as well.
Yeah,
And Joe Linton and couple of others had really good opportunities as well to score, where Edison made like really good saves to keep them in the game. Um, on the other side, I think Pope also made couple of very, very good saves late in the game to keep Newcastle at 1-1. But overall, I think, Newcastle away is always a tricky fixture. It just uh, City drop points, of course, but I think there'll be a lot of teams that will go away to Newcastle and not come away with 3 points. So I think it's not a disheartening result for City fans. It's just something that you get and you move on, according to me.
I think Newcastle bossed the midfield completely between Bruno Guimaraes, Joe Linton, and Sandro Tonali. I think that midfield is as good as it can get on paper, at least. Like physically, they were bossing the midfield, and I had some doubts when City started with Rico Lewis and Mateo Kovacic in the midfield. I thought that was a very passive move and not a very attacking move. They could have played someone like a Matthias Nunez or someone more creative. Especially when Doku was also not playing, Grealish had started. So that creativity was required when you have such physical players in the opposition. Then you need creativity to break that.
Do you know why Doku didn't start?
It was just a
Tactical
It
switch
was a
call.
by.
tactical
Yes,
call, and
yes,
also like
Do you think that was
Grealish.
a good call?
I'm okay with that. I
yeah.
think Grealish is a very good player, and he's probably one of the most creative players in the whole league. Like forget City, we just have forgotten how good he is because he plays in a very rigid kind of a system at City,
Correct.
where he's like shunted out on the left and he has to sort of stay there.
Yes.
But if you give him a free role like he had at Villa he was the highest chance creator in the whole league.
Correct.
So he's a supremely creative player. Uh, but uh, but yeah, the difference that Rodri makes can be seen in games like this. And sometimes I feel we have forgotten how good Newcastle's first 11 actually is, because uh, I mean, people say it was a fluke they finished fourth the season before last one, but I sort of feel that it wasn't such a big fluke because they had a decent team, and of course they didn't have other European commitments which they got last year. Then Tonali got banned for 10 odd months, 12 odd months, something like
Yeah.
that, right? So
I
a
think
lot
that
of
was a big miss for them.
yeah, and also they had crazy injuries. Like we talk about United's injuries problems last year, but Newcastle also had very very bad injuries, probably worse than United. So they also had very big injury problems, and they are a really decent team.
Yes.
And I actually think they will be in the mix, like strongly in the mix for top four this season.
Gordon was on fire in the second half. Like
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
pass him the ball, like the
Hmm.
United Newcastle strategy was just give the ball to Gordon, and
Yep.
he was playing like a nine yesterday, and they were missing out on Isaac, and Isaac was a big miss for Newcastle, but Gordon played. He was immense yesterday.
He's very quick as well, right?
Mhm.
So he has that capability where he can jump the offside trap. So, and you could see that with the penalty that he got, right? He was so good at like beating that offside trap and getting one-on-one with Ederson.
Yes.
So
I remember 2 seasons ago, Gordon was linked to Chelsea, and every Chelsea fan was rooting for not it to not happen. He was playing in Everton, and he was linked to us for like 40 million pounds or something, and everyone was against it. But now look how times have changed, and now he's one of the most promising players in the league.
But he was
So
actually very good for Everton. I don't know why Chelsea fans would want.
Chelsea fans were very much against it. We don't want
He
him.
was very good for Everton, and then he signed, I think, in the January transfer window
Yes,
to
yes,
Newcastle.
yes.
And for those 6 odd months, he was really poor. And I remember I was speaking to UV before last season, and we were discussing about Gordon, and I told him that maybe it's just a bedding in period, and the transfer out of Everton wasn't like a very smooth transfer for him emotionally as well. And I predict him to be having a very good season, which he did. And after the Euros, I think it's just he's so hurt that he didn't get to play at the Euros for England, and he's just making up for lost time now. Yeah. He's going to have a big season. He's also in my FPL team.
So any comments on Phil Foden? Like, why is he not playing enough? Last year, he was the player of the season in the league, and he could have easily been the number 10 yesterday instead of Ilkay Gundogan. So, and he hasn't played many minutes this season. So, what's happening?
Probably it's just a niggle or something that he has that we don't know about. Probably Pep knows about, or like. Otherwise, I wouldn't see a reason why you wouldn't play Foden, right? He was your man of the season last year, right?
Yeah.
So I feel unless it cannot be tactical. I feel it's kind of it has to be something with either a niggle or football fatigue or like the number of minutes he has played or something like that. I mean,
I don't think it's a niggle from whatever I have read or whenever I have seen him play in the last few minutes of the game. I don't think it's a niggle. I think it's just that Pep is building him up again because he had a long season and he had a long summer. England reached the finals of the Euro. And also, one key factor is the emergence of Savinho. I did not expect him to be this good. Like, I expected him to be decent, but I expected that he will build up to being good.
Correct.
Playing in Girona and being their star player versus playing in City and being one of the star players is not an easy transition to me. And he's been superb this season. So that also affects, right?
You are absolutely right. He's hit the ground running. I mean, usually you see Pep signing a player and then giving it like 2-3 months before he starts the games with him, right? Like, but with this guy, he's been like in the starting lineup since day one.
Yes,
I think he was in the starting lineup even in the Community Shield.
He was.
So that's
yesterday he wasn't. But otherwise he's been quite a regular member of the City squad. So I believe it's much easier to settle in a team which is already playing well. Like a new player coming in a team which is struggling or in the not so best phase of their transition, I think it's much more difficult. So, for example, an Ugarte settling in United, it is going to be difficult, right? Like, because people around him are going to make it more difficult for him to settle. But if your team around you is playing so well, like in City, then you are obviously going to shine more than not.
But I think, like, especially for a team like City, I agree with your point, but I think for City it doesn't work because City works like a machine. And if a new part is sort of added to the machine, replacing an old part, that part should not ideally work so smoothly, right? Because the patterns, the systems, the wavelength is not matching. With Savinho, what is the benefit is that he's been a part of the City football group.
Correct.
For the past 2 odd seasons, right? Yes. And that helps because he's sort of like if you see even a team like Mumbai City FC, which is a team in India which has no sort of direct links with Manchester City other than the fact that they're the same ownership group. There's no player on loan, nothing like that. But the patterns of play are sort of, at least the philosophy is similar across all teams of City football group. So that helps in sort of getting this transition made. Yes. And that's why probably Savinho has fit in so well since then.
Yes. Could be. But it's really surprising to see Pep start with him, right? It's like
Yeah.
so soon. And as you're saying, right, that's probably because the player is kind of in tune with the philosophy of the play or the patterns of play, which are kind of common across the entire group.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
no, also because like I don't think he had many options on the right to begin the season with. Like Foden was just coming back. Who else plays on the right? Like Grealish doesn't play on the right.
Bernardo.
Bernardo Silva, but KDB was also sort of like injured there, not there. So then Bernardo has to play in his position. Rodri is not playing. So maybe it was just that he had no other option. And then from the first game, Savinho has been so good that there's no reason to change. That could also be a reason.
True. But the title race is heating up, guys.
Yeah.
Liverpool top.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that would happen at the start of the season?
Mm-hmm.
So let's go to the second game, which was Arsenal versus Leicester. So a quick recap of the game. Arsenal started off really well, 2 goals in the first half. Second half gave away a very early goal. Bad defending by Havertz.
No surprise.
No surprise over there. And then a wonder goal by Justin. I think that was a great one-touch strike by him.
Yeah.
And at 2-2, it was, as an Arsenal fan, you were at the edge of your seat, right? What's happening? Especially when you are missing a player like Odegaard who, clicks, who makes the game happen in the team. And then you could see that we were struggling in taking our chances, right? And I think at the end, we were kind of lucky that Trossard was left hanging at the back post and he kind of played a cross and then it went for an own goal.
Yes.
Overall, I think Arsenal, they definitely need to be a little bit more ruthless when it comes to playing these teams in the bottom half of the table. Because as the season goes on, it's a long season, right? And it's not just, at the end of the season, it's not just physical fatigue that comes in the players, it's both physical and mental fatigue. So if you're having such close games throughout the season, eventually it takes a toll on you as players, right? So we need, as a team, Arsenal need to be more ruthless when it comes to dispatching such teams. You need to churn out performances which are like 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, where you are not struggling right till the end, right? Last 15 minutes basically should be a time where you rotate your players, give them a little bit of rest rather than struggling to score a winning goal kind of a thing. So I think that's something that we really need to work on. And
but good confidence match for Martinelli.
Yeah, I mean, he scored a goal after a long time, and I think I hope that kind of gives him a boost for the next few games, and which we really need, right? We really need Martinelli to come back in his form. So hopefully this kind of helps him settle in. What did you guys?
How was the gameplay like when they were chasing the game?
See, we were creating chances, of course. We were creating chances, but what happens is it's always the final pass or the final finish, correct? And as I've said, like, we don't have the striker to kind of score that wonder goal where you have a 50% chance and he scores a goal out of nowhere, right? And Havertz is kind of a player, you sometimes give him an easy chance, also he misses it. So scoring a goal is very difficult for us, according to me right now. So it was good that we went 2-0 up, but it was really surprising that we let in 2 goals, given how strong our defense has been. And then, of course, we created chances in the second half. It's just that final ball, the final pass, and the final finish. That is where that improvement needs to come. Like Jesus is not a good goal scorer, right? He doesn't score heavily. Martinelli is not in that kind of a form. Saka can't be the lone person doing everything. Havertz is again like not a person who's like scores too many goals, right? So you need someone to take the game by the scruff of the neck and kind of score those important goals in this team. But let's see. A very important win, given that City had dropped a couple of points, and I hope we push on from here and kind of gain some confidence and kind of get a few more wins in our belt.
You have an easy match coming up in the Champions League, so it should help.
I don't think but I would love again, like I love this year's Champions League because I want to see such games, right? I think it'll be a great game. I think it'll be a spectacle and it'll
PSG favorites, man. Like for me, PSG are too good right now.
again, like for me, it's just the viewing experience,
Yeah.
right? So you get to see so many different teams playing, like so many different permutation combination in terms of games happening, and that's very exciting from Champions League point of view.
Yes.
Okay, so
let's move to the next game.
Yes, let's move to the Chelsea game.
Yeah.
Shan, you want to take this over?
Yeah. First thing I want to address is that every Chelsea fan is thinking that we are in the title list, which is absolutely not true. Or
Which
we are
Chelsea
not.
fans have you been talking to?
Everywhere you see on the internet, on Instagram, everyone is thinking that we are title contenders or top four, like we are confirmed for the top four spots, but I don't think so. Yeah. Okay, yeah, yesterday it was a very good performance. Individual brilliance was there from Cole Palmer, but considering Brighton was playing on in a very high line, I think last season we played against Spurs when they were down to 9 men and they were playing with a very high line. I think that was a good education for us to play this match. Like, how do you break those lines? And you need someone like an Enzo or a Caicedo who are very good at breaking those lines. I think which is what United were missing today. Who is going to break those lines? Possibly Bruno, but he's not at his best. But like Enzo's first pass to Cole Palmer, which Cole Palmer missed, is the reason why we need Enzo. Nobody is going to pass that ball. Like it was inch perfect, and unfortunately Cole Palmer missed, but it deserved an assist for sure. Again, Nicholas Jackson has had a kind of off game, but we are managing to score goals, but we are also managing to concede also,
Concede
which
goals.
is which is not good. I believe there's a lot of work needed. When we play against big teams, they are not going to give us so many chances to score goals. But if we give them these many chances to score against us, then it's going to be an issue for us. So we have to reduce the unforced errors as much as possible so that we have a better chance of making it through in the longer run. So I believe definitely good momentum, and it's very exciting time for a Chelsea fan after a long time that we are seeing this kind of football. And the football that we are watching is beautiful. Like it's not boring and effective, it's beautiful and effective also. So good time. I think individually every player is stepping up. Like right from Mark Cucurella, who was criticized so much last season, and he was about to go to United on a loan, but United then chose to sign another Spurs left back. So that didn't happen. But look how Mark Cucurella's confidence has changed. I believe that's what happens. Like if you give a person comfort and confidence and the love around, I think something will come through. Same has happened with Jadon Sancho. I think it has been 3 assists in 3 games for him, and these are he had 3 assists in the entire season for United. So if you give him that comfort, and there are so many ex-City people at Chelsea who know Jadon Sancho so well, you can see the camaraderie that they are enjoying the football and they are playing well also. Unless you enjoy, you can't play so well and you can't have such good chemistry. So chemistry is improving, each individual is improving. The only bad thing I can say about yesterday's performance is about Noni Madueke. He has to be less selfish and get involved more in the game. He was good defensively, but he has to give that pass and not try and shoot everything himself. He has to realize that a good assist is as good as a goal. Like team requires it, and especially in a match against Brighton where you have to kill the game as soon as possible. Even a 2 goal lead is not a safe if there is 30 minutes left. So we have to kill the game as soon as possible. And Cole Palmer's free kick, and like he was so good. Like it was like everyone is comparing him to Messi's right top bin finish, but I don't want to like hype him so much because he's being hyped too much on the internet, and I'm not liking it. Don't make him too big, like the club is recognized by Cole Palmer only. He has to be grounded. He's young. He needs to improve. Yesterday, as Maresca said, he could have scored one or two more goals.
Yeah, he could have.
Yeah, and easily he could have. He missed a simple chance in the second half, in the first few minminutes.
And there
So
was one in the first half where he hit the post, right?
yes, that same Enzo's pass.
Yeah.
Enzo, I think each and every player, Enzo is getting flagged, but I'm a big Enzo fan, so I don't see anyone like I don't see Mares, and he's a perfect player for Maresca's system. Like he's too good. I could see Caicedo playing so upfront, like so high upfront, like when Nico Jackson and Cole Palmer are pressing the opposition defenders, they are trying to get that false pass from them, which Caicedo is able to encash and then give back the ball to Palmer or Nicholas Jackson. That's what happened in one of those goals yesterday.
So a striking thing about Chelsea is how quick some of their forwards are, right? You have Nicholas Jackson, you have Sancho, you have Palmer, who is pretty quick as well. That and playing a high line against these players, it's quite risky as a strategy, which Brighton actually kind of adopted. So I think again, but I feel these same players, if you're playing apart from Cole Palmer, right? If you're playing a low block against Chelsea, they will struggle to break you, right? So I think at some level, teams have to learn how to adapt their strategy based on the opposition players as well. Correct? There's a lot of people get carried away by saying like, no, this is our style of play and this is what we are going to play all the time. Correct? We are not going to change based on the opposition. Okay, fine. I can understand that to a point, but you have to be a little more adaptable, a little more flexible based on how the opposition is set up and what the opposition players are and what the opposition strength is as well.
Correct, 100%.
Brighton lagged yesterday. I think playing a very high line against player like Sancho and Nicholas Jackson. See, Nicholas Jackson finishing is probably not that great. But you saw with the first goal, right? He doesn't need to finish. He can probably just lay it off to Cole Palmer to finish. Or some of the other players to finish. But he's good at breaking an offside trap and actually getting at the end of the passes. And plus you have someone like Enzo who can actually give you these passes.
Yes.
Right? So I think this is where I think Brighton kind of could have done things differently.
I think you need to have a horses for courses kind of strategy that you can't be playing same way unless you are prime Barcelona or that good that you can afford to do that. But otherwise, it's not going to work in the longer run. I think Brighton were too high on confidence that they were unbeaten so far, but I think now they have been humbled by Chelsea, and I think there could be a shift in strategy for some games if we can.
And that too, Brighton were away, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. It was Chelsea, right?
Yes.
Such a high line away. It was a little surprising to see that they kind of.
But they started beautifully. Like the first 15 minutes, they were too good, and then after they scored like one fluke goal they scored because of Sanchez's error. But after that, once Enzo and Palmer and all these guys came into play, they had no answer to it. Like
it's the same as Tottenham, right? Tottenham also plays such a high line. They start so well, even if you like as I was saying in the United versus Spurs review that we had. These teams start so well in the first 20 minutes. But after the first 20 minutes, if you kind of understand how to break their lines and break the offside trap and play against this strategy, you can score goals easily against them. It's not as if this is kind of not like a sound, like a foolproof kind of a strategy that these teams have.
Yeah.
So again, like I think.
I honestly agree with you. Like it was a bad move playing a high line against Chelsea. Like it was just stupid.
It was it was totally like it's. I think that is where that's what made the difference, right? Eventually, like it's.
And Chelsea, like in the past, has only struggled against low blocks. Like they have struggled so bad, and for that to address that situation, they have gotten someone like a Sancho who can try and break that, but. Till it's proven, a low block was the perfect strategy against Chelsea if they could have employed that, especially after the first goal. Then it was Chelsea's turn to attack, and then I'm assuming it was just stupid to play such a high line so early. Like Cole Palmer's interview, if you watched it after the match, he said, "I missed the first chance, but I saw their high line and I knew I would get many more chances after that." So if the attacker is has that belief, कि ठीक है एक miss कर दिया, but due to the high line I'll get more chances,
Yeah,
then his confidence is always
high,
higher,
right?
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Unless मतलब सामने low block खेल रहे, then you will feel like one missed chance is like a very big thing for you.
correct, correct. Absolutely, absolutely. Um, guys, let's should we move to the next game?
Yeah.
So the next game was Wolves versus Liverpool. Um, uh, Ishan, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I think it was a very straightforward match. I think Wolves are not at the peak of their form, and uh, comparatively, Liverpool should have been much more dominant against them. Although the Wolves were playing at home, which is always going to be a difficult fixture, but I believe Wolves still did as much as they could. But Liverpool were, I think, not at the mark. I think they could have been more dominant and signed off with the authority that they are one of the best teams and to look out for in the Premier League. It was a straight 2-1 win. So I think whenever a good team plays against such teams, it's okay that one, like for example, Arsenal also didn't have a perfect match against Leicester, right? Like, but you should be able to get those 3 points away anyhow. Like, it's not going to be that all 38 games you are going to have a convincing game. So to scrappily, but to get those 3 points is very much important. So I think Liverpool managed that very well yesterday.
For sure. And as we mentioned, they're top of the table now, and a few Liverpool fans are already thinking that they are in the title race, which they actually are. No one is denying that. Honestly, like as you were saying, like a couple of weeks back, right? How the manager actually made them click so quickly. It's commendable, and let's see. I mean, they are looking a very strong unit right now.
Yes. But Varun, by one drawback with Liverpool is that their three main players are in the last year of their contracts. So nobody would want to get injured, and they would. I believe that they would be physically that involved in the game, knowing that it's last year of their contract. If they intend to, leave the club or something like Mo Salah, Virgil van Dijk, and Trent, all three of them, like three most important players of Liverpool, are in their last year of contract. So going forward, even I'm just speculating that the intensity could reduce a bit.
I'm thinking
I don't think that that should be the case for either of the three, because their quality is so high that even if they are injured, they'll get contracts and bumper contracts anywhere they want to go.
Maybe
So
for
that's-
Trent, but not for Van Dijk, who is like an aging player or something.
Yeah, but they, I mean, he's still performing at like peak level or close to peak level even this season. Even Salah is doing that. So I don't think the quality will come into question for all three of them. And I also don't think that Liverpool are too concerned about it right now. I'm sure in the background.
Why shouldn't they be? Like,
No, I'm sure in the background there is something or the other going on. Like you have Michael Edwards back, right? And we know that he is a master in this kind of a situation. So he will have a plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, whatever is required for the club and the system to continue. Like their system is not player dependent. Whatever they have, it's not player dependent. Of course, having great players like these three helps, but it's not player dependent. So they will have certain options in mind. And I don't feel from the outside, of course, we are all speculating here, but from the outside, I don't feel they are overly concerned about the contracts or the performances of these players. In fact, if the performances drop, maybe the interest will be lower, especially for Salah and Van Dijk, right? Like if performances drop after a good start, then the age thing comes into the mind of all the potential suitors that, okay, they are good for like the first 2 months, and then because of age, they can't continue that same level of performance. So it might actually be negative for them in their performances.
So I'm actually looking at it from another point of view where if the team is actually doing well,
Mhm.
right? They are top of the table. It can actually persuade players like Van Dijk, Salah, and Trent to do a
To
contract
stay.
extension,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
that is in fact a bigger motive for Liverpool to kind of keep continuing this form. Suppose you are entering December and they are top of the table or close to top of the table, right? Probably these players think that we are still having a good system, we are still challenging for trophies at Liverpool, why not extend the contract, kind of a thing.
I don't think
So in
these
my
6 months will matter a lot. I think they're
yeah,
too good to like they will decide at the end of the window also, and
yeah.
they are in that position to decide for themselves.
In my heart, I feel that Trent is going to go to Real next year. Like, I don't think he's going to be renewing his contract, but I feel the other two will take like a couple of year extension, like 2 years extension or something.
It
But
will
I
be very
really have
difficult
this
to keep
feeling
all
that
three of them together.
My point is that would be very difficult to persuade them to do that if they are not in the title race. Imagine if Liverpool is
100%, 100%.
is in fourth or fifth or something like that, then getting them to extend contract will be much more difficult, right?
Yes.
So uh,
We should actually do a video, like, because I mean, this is not the right place to discuss that, but so many players of Liverpool, I've read like 3 or 4 players have come out and said that, sort of implied that they enjoy working with Slot a lot more than Klopp.
oh
Huh?
really?
Yeah. Like Trent made a comment this week, like this midweek, that I'm enjoying working with a coach who's like paying attention and this, like, further.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No,
So,
he
and
said I am ambitious and I want to win trophies. When
no,
someone asked about his contract situation,
he also said this, that I'm enjoying working with a coach who's paying attention. I'm getting to learn a lot, and so on. But we'll do a separate video on that, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I mean, Liverpool is doing well. I saw bits of their game, and Wolves did have some chances. Like
yes,
Allison had to make a couple of good saves. So it was not all plain sailing for them, but overall they look a pretty solid unit, and they should be uh, in the mix this season, especially
yes.
because City is sort of not at their peak level. Like, it's either Haaland or bust sort of for them, I feel now.
Another quick point on Liverpool before we go to the Villa game is the return of form of Luis Diaz. I think it takes the pressure of Salah significantly because Luis Diaz is now scoring goals.
Yes.
Last year, when he had come back from injury, he was kind of out of form and he was not scoring goals. He was not getting into that key positions to kind of take his chances. But I think this year he is kind of hit the ground running again, and he is kind of at the top of his game right now, taking his chances, scoring a lot of goals. And I think that helps because now you're balanced on both the wings. It's not just all the chances coming from the right where Salah is playing, but you still have Luis Diaz on the left who kind of impacts the game so much, and that is creating a trouble for the opposition teams as well, right?
Yes. I think even Ryan Gravenberch, he's
Yes,
been a
definitely.
revelation again
Yes,
under Slot. Like he's been too good, and nobody thought he was that.
correct.
So
For
so far,
sure.
his only player I think needs to join the party is Dominic Szoboszlai. I think last year he was hyped too much, but I personally like him a lot, but that hasn't converted into that level of performance for him so far. But he's
Yeah,
too talented to not perform, so I'm rooting for him to, produce some good moments for Liverpool.
So even yesterday, he had a easy chance that he missed in the first
mhm,
half.
mhm.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
so
Also, just a point on Gravenberch. Like, he had a down season last year, but
mm.
he sort of was the best player in the Ajax team when Ten Hag was there and when they were doing so well in the
So was
Bundesliga.
Anthony, by the way.
Sorry?
So was Anthony.
No, Anthony was never one of the best players.
Of course he was.
No.
Of
If you
course.
see his stats in Netherlands, they weren't
Stats
that
were
great
not very
anyway.
encouraging. I think he had 8 goals or something
Yeah, so
when he
he
has
was never considered one of the best players there. Gravenberch was actually sort of the one that was stitching the team together. And Liverpool got a great deal by signing him for less than 20 odd million last year. And he had sort of a down season, but he's always had that talent to be this good
why
at this
why
level.
wouldn't United sign Gravenberch If
I have no idea.
played under Ten Hag before.
I have no idea.
Manan
Maybe
bhai,
with a-
which is the most expensive player coming from Eredivisie?
Sorry?
Who is the most expensive player coming from the Netherlands league?
I think it's Anthony.
Like
Yeah.
he has to be good for as per their scouts to.
No. It was just a bad deal by United. Like, we offered 40 odd million or 30 odd million. Ajax wanted 40. Then we offered 40. They went for 60, and it eventually went up to like 80 or 90 million pounds. Something like
I
that.
remember Cody Gakpo was the second fielder. If United were not able to sign Anthony, then they were going to sign Cody Gakpo.
Yeah.
He was playing for PSV, I remember.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to the last game, which is
Villa.
Ipswich versus Villa. Manan, you want to take it?
Yeah, I saw the last 30 minutes of Ipswich versus Villa, and I've seen a few of Villa's earlier games as well. Ipswich were pretty competitive in this game. I actually liked the football Ipswich was playing a lot more than the football Villa was playing. They were sort of on top. It was close, but if I had to pick someone, I would have picked Ipswich. They were playing good football. The second goal by Liam Delap was really nice. Like, it was a proper sort of striker's finish. He sort of like drops his shoulder and turns his man and then scores a goal. So Villa, I feel this season they've conceded a lot, but they've also not really controlled games, and they have scraped through games and like scrappy wins, and those kind of performances are happening. So
They've always conceded first, I believe. Like,
Yeah.
there are so many games that they have conceded first and then they have come from behind. Like, they have been lucky or they have been good, I don't know. But they don't shy away from conceding. They're okay to concede. But like, they have someone like a John Duran or Ollie Watkins who always comes through and scores those goals for them.
Yeah. So even today, like after the second goal went in from Ipswich to equalize, there were not very clear chances for Villa to sort of, score and take the lead. So it was a pretty even game, and somehow Villa are managing to still win many games and still draw many games, which you can say is a good quality. Like, when you're playing not so well and still getting points. I wish United had that, to be honest. But like, I feel it's not as smooth as it was last year. And perhaps it's the European pressures that they are beginning to face now, like playing every 3 days. Although it's just been one game for them in the Champions League, right? But it's always in your mind that, okay, this is happening, because the expectations are raised. Like, it's not like Villa last year was a surprise at 4th, but now people or their fans or everyone is expecting more now. So let's see how it goes. But I feel they will be out of top 6 this season.
In fact, Dibu Martinez made a crazy save. Liam Delap had such an easy goal and such an easy chance before he scored the second goal. Like, he should have definitely scored that. And I saw Liam Delap play. He scored 2 goals, but I'm not such a big fan of him. Like, there were too many chances where he could have scored and could have done much more.
But like, the player from Ipswich that I really like is their left back, Davis.
Achha.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of peak young Luke Shaw when he was at Southampton, where he used to be like super attacking, similar type of physique, very good left foot to put in crosses. He was the highest assist maker in the Championship last season.
Oh, okay.
For Ipswich.
Wow. Okay.
Like, in double digits. So he's really good. I was sort of curious how he would fare in the Premier League this season. I've seen tidbits of some of Ipswich's games before this one, and he was okay-ish. But today, he really impressed me.
Even Omari Hutchinson, the player who went from Chelsea, he was so good today.
Yeah.
So
he has that magic in him. Okay.
Villa, they have to kind of figure out this second season syndrome when it comes to Champions League. The same thing happened with Newcastle, where they played really well, reached the Champions League in the top 4, and the next season they dropped off.
Yes.
Right? So having that kind of a thing where once you reach Champions League, the next year becomes really, really difficult. as Manan mentioned, right? Because you have European pressure, and it's not just about the number of games; it's about the preparation that goes into it, and the challenges of like it plays on your mind, right? It plays on your team selection, and so all of these things are really important. And then Villa really need to figure out how to kind of avoid that second season syndrome of
Yes.
Champions League, which will be like a big test for Emery this season, right? Meanwhile, they would want to perform in the Champions League and kind of move to the next round as well. And there are more games this time in Champions League. So, uh, and of course, like as we discussed previously, Chelsea are playing much better than a lot of people.
Early days. Don't jinx it.
No, but they are playing better than a lot of people expected them to.
Yeah.
So kind of more pressure on Villa to kind of perform to kind of seal that top four place this year. So let's see. Early days, as Ishan is saying, but the league is getting really interesting, both from a top of the table point of view and the top four places point of view.
Mhm.
And yeah, probably for United fans, a little look behind the shoulder for relegation as well.
Yeah, that's not
Anyway,
happening.
fair enough. Any closing comments, guys? Okay, great. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you guys liked the weekend review. Do hit the like button, share, subscribe, and do leave us your thoughts in the comment section. See you guys soon. Bye.